If you spent any time online these days, you've probably seen some pretty strange terms floating around. Things like the woke right or Eurasianism. And it's easy to just write it all off as, more noise in an already chaotic world. But what if I told you these aren't just random memes? What if they're all connected to one single massive philosophy that sees our entire world on the verge of a spiritual war? Well, that's what we're going to unpack. It really does sound like the start of a very strange joke, doesn't it? But it's actually the key to understanding some incredibly powerful forces that are shaping global politics as we speak. So over the next few minutes, we're going to connect these dots and explore a worldview that literally frames all of history as one big apocalyptic battle for the soul of humanity. All right, so to really get to the bottom of these weird online currents, we have to start with the man who's often at the center of it all, Alexander Dugin. Now, his name might not be a household one, but his philosophy, it's this potent mix of ideas that goes way, way beyond your standard left versus right politics. See, Dugin isn't just some political pundit. He's a deeply orthodox Christian philosopher. And his work dives into what you might call esoteric or, hidden spiritual traditions. For him, the world isn't just a simple contest between countries. No, it's a grand spiritual war playing out on a global stage. So what is this war? Well, according to Dugin, all of human history, everything, boils down to this eternal struggle between two totally fundamental types of civilizations, two opposing forces that, in his view, simply cannot coexist. So Dugin's framework basically splits the entire world into two warring camps. First up, you've got Atlanticism, which he says is led by the US and the UK. He calls it a liquid civilization, one that's built on sea power, on global commerce, and on individual rights. And its complete opposite is Eurasianism, led by Russia. This, he says, is a solid, land-based civilization, one that's all about tradition, hierarchy, and a really powerful collective identity. Now, for Dugin, this idea of thalassocracy, or sea power, it isn't just about navies and shipping lanes. It's a cultural force. He sees it as this liquid power that just washes away borders, traditions, and the whole idea of a rooted identity, replacing it all with, global markets. And the polar opposite of that, that's telurocracy, or land power. This is the foundation of his ideal world. It's solid, it's stable, it's deeply connected to the soil, to faith, and to a shared ancient heritage. It's basically the anchor holding firm against that liquid modern world. But here's where it gets really intense. This isn't just about geopolitics for Dugin. For him, this struggle is a holy war. He casts Russia in this divine, almost apocalyptic role, believing it has a sacred mission to carry out in what he sees as the final act of human history. And at the very heart of this mission is a fascinating theological concept called the katachin, which literally means the restrainer. It actually comes from the New Testament, and it refers to a power or a force that holds back the apocalypse and the rise of the Antichrist. And Dugin sees modern Russia, with its deep-seated traditionalism, as the world's last katachin. Now, this idea gets its justification from the old Third Rome doctrine. The theory basically goes like this. The first Rome, it fell to heresy. The second Rome, Constantinople, it fell to invaders. And that leaves Moscow as the third and final bastion of true Christianity, destined to hold the line until the end of days. Okay, so we've covered geopolitics and theology. But what if there's another layer here? What if this is also about psychology? The analysis we're exploring suggests we can view this whole global conflict through the lens of the psychologist Carl Jung. And from that perspective, it's not just a battle of nations. It's a battle of deep, unconscious archetypes that live inside all of us. This perspective pretty much recasts geopolitics as a form of applied mythology. It's suggesting that we aren't just watching leaders make rational, calculated decisions. Instead, we're witnessing a kind of psychic epidemic where these ancient myths and archetypes have just erupted into our modern world and are, in a way, possessing entire nations. And this leads to what Jung called shadow projection. It's when each side stops seeing the other as just a human rival and starts seeing them as a metaphysical, even demonic enemy. So for some in the West, Russia becomes the biblical destroyer, Gog and Magog. And for Dugin's side, the US becomes the ultimate antichrist, the great deceiver. So how on earth does this battle of ancient myths connect to our super modern world of technology? Well, the analysis suggests that this soulless, liquid world that Dugin is so afraid of is reaching its final, ultimate form in our relationship with artificial intelligence. I mean, it's really the oldest story in the book, right? Humanity creating false idols to worship. But this time, the idol isn't made of gold or stone. It's made of silicon and code. The question is, have we started to outsource our very search for meaning to the machines that we've created? And if you really listen to the language coming out of Silicon Valley, you can hear these echoes. They talk about AI not just as a tool, but as our successor, a new kind of consciousness. And what this does is it creates a sort of technocratic priesthood, one that elevates raw calculation to the level of wisdom and treats data as the ultimate truth with a capital T. The critique here is that this purely logical, data-driven way of thinking, what some people call a left-brained mindset, has built a world that is incredibly efficient and procedural, but also completely empty of any deeper spirit or meaning. A world that feels, in a word, soulless.
So is that it? Are we doomed to choose between a holy war fought by ancient tribes and a soulless digital prison? Well, the source we're exploring here actually proposes a third way, a path that goes beyond this seemingly endless, impossible conflict.
And the solution really hinges on this incredibly powerful concept, imago Dei. It's the idea that every single human being is created in the image of God. And because of that, each person has an inherent, profound dignity that can't be hacked by an algorithm or erased by some tribal identity. And this idea, it just reframes the entire conflict. It's a call to move beyond the brothers' feud of Atlanticist versus Eurasianist or West versus East. The goal is to start acting like a global family by recognizing that shared divine spark that lives inside every single one of us. And that's really the ultimate question this analysis leaves us with. As our world seems to fracture more and more into warring tribes and digital illusions, maybe this intense pressure is the very thing that will force us to look past all the noise and rediscover what truly connects us all. We're facing a choice between our tribes and our shared humanity.